This is as good as life gets for Tony Nicklinson. A juice prepared by Jane, his wife of 26 years. It's specially thickened so he doesn't choke to death. An ironic precaution because tomorrow Mr. Nicklinson's request to die will be heard at the High Court. His body was paralysed by a stroke 7 years ago, but his mind is unharmed. He has what's known as locked-in syndrome and communicates either by blinking at letters on a board or by using a computer which follows his eye movements.
I and my family enjoyed a full life in the United Arab Emirates. I travelled extensively around the Middle East and we were comfortably well off but not rich. We had a number of holidays in Southeast Asia such as Thailand and New Zealand. Now we don't go anywhere and we live on benefits. It's quite a contrast.
Once a handsome rugby player not averse to daredevil outdoor stunts, now he and his wife feel like prisoners in their Chippenham home. Memories of their life together overseas are almost too painful for Mr. Nicklinson to recollect, but he insisted he wanted to continue with the interview.
T, letter R, letter A, travelling, letter A and A, letter R, around, letter G, letter T, H, letter the, letter M, Middle East, letter L, enjoying your life, letter A, letter T, letter T, at the, letter at, is it at the, letter D or W, letter A. Oh, at the Wanderers. That was the name of the club where we used to go.
Previous right to die cases have tried to clarify the law on assisted suicide, but Mr. Nicklinson is mounting a fundamental challenge to the law on murder. Because he's so severely disabled, he can't take his own life, but needs someone else to do it for him.
Euthanasia is the act of putting a person down to death painlessly or by withholding medical services, and this is an action that is similar to putting down animals when they are sick. There are two types of euthanasia, passive euthanasia and active euthanasia. Passive euthanasia is when a life-sustaining treatment is stopped. For example, when a person is brain dead and is on life support to maintain their heart beating. Active euthanasia, on the other hand, is when medical professionals or a person chosen by the patient does something that ends their life. Where is euthanasia legal? In the United States, it is legal in Washington State, Oregon, California, Montana, Colorado, Washington, D.C., and Vermont. Internationally, euthanasia is legal in France, the Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, and Belgium. Euthanasia has been a controversial topic because it poses ethical questions and moral dilemmas, such as, is there a moral difference between killing someone and letting them die? Is it ever right to end the life of a terminally ill patient who is undergoing severe pain and suffering? Under what circumstances can euthanasia be justifiable, if at all? Who is to decide whether to take someone else's life or not? Do we kill in mercy to relieve them, or is it unethical or immoral to do so? Is it better to let nature take its course in an assisted death process? Does it cause more pain overall, or does it relieve more pain? Why is their life not significant enough to fight for? There are two general sides to this issue, those who are for it and those who are against it. Advocates for the legalization of euthanasia argue that patients have the explicit right to make a choice to end their own lives with an assisted suicide if they want to. Their second claim is that patients shouldn't have to suffer unnecessarily and consider euthanasia as a mercy killing. Those who are against the legalization of euthanasia argue that there is other alternatives such as palliative care. Also, they believe that life is sacred and that no one has the right to take anyone else's life.
Well, I'm concerned that people will perhaps not consider other options. They may think, oh, well, that's the easy way out, or they may end their life sooner than they need to. In palliative care, our aim is to help people to have the best quality of life as long as they can, help them to deal with their pain and symptom management. And a lot of times when people bring up that they're thinking about euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide, a lot of times that means some pain or symptom is not being managed properly, and palliative care physicians make it their aim to figure out what that might be, try to rectify the problem, and a lot of times those requests for physician-assisted suicide or death go away. because people are more comfortable, and people would potentially lose time with their family that they could be saying goodbye and remembering and spending time together if they were to end their lives prematurely.
Well, can I start by saying I actually don't advocate for a right to die, because we're all going to die. It's not a right. What I advocate for is a right to ask for help at the end of life if medical science can no longer help you, and a right not to be tortured. But going back to my dad, yes, it was a very, very painful death to watch, and it was very shocking to watch. That was 20 years ago. But a couple of years ago, I read an article by an Australian writer whose father was Dutch and dying of cancer, and under their laws could be assisted to die, euthanized. And she described his last week, and it was a week of farewells. All his friends came, they honoured him. He said everything he wanted to say to his family. He gave the things he wanted to give. His last night was spent listening to Mozart, looking at the night sky, and the next day, remember, this was a man dying of cancer. It's very important to remember that. These people are dying. When the doctors came to assist him to die, he hugged his family. It was gentle, it was civilised, and I thought, why can't we do that here? Why are good people in this country being left to die bad deaths?
As a group, we agree with those who advocate the legalization of euthanasia. We believe that no one should die in painful agony or have unremitting suffering. Legalized euthanasia would protect the vulnerable from wrongful death and enables peaceful death with dignity. Euthanasia, or physician-assisted death, should only be a last resort when all medical treatments have failed. In support of euthanasia, it is rational to stop medical treatment when the patient is in a terminal condition. It should be noted that without physician assistance, patients may commit suicide in a messy, horrifying, and traumatic way. To avoid this, allowing a patient with unbearable pain to die with dignity would fulfill their wishes of a quick and painless death. Just like we believe that euthanasia should be legalized, we also believe there should be restrictions in place to avoid unnecessary deaths.
For example, there are extremely liberal views on euthanasia in countries like Belgium, where it has been legal for about 13 years now. According to the European Institute of Bioethics, there has been an 89% increase in the cases of assisted suicide, leading to an average of 2,000 people going through with the procedure every year. Also, they recently amended their law to accommodate children as young as 12 years old to go through the procedure. As utilitarians, we believe that the best course of action is simply that one that causes happiness to the most amount of people, or the less damage to the least amount of people.
As ethical egoists, we believe that the best course of action is that which has the best outcome for oneself, within rational boundaries. We believe that the right choice is the one that benefits us and our purpose of life.
When it comes to euthanasia, we would probably ask the following questions. Will it end the pain and suffering, or will it increase happiness? As a utilitarian, we can analyze the pain and suffering of the people. So the person that wants to go through with the assisted suicide would have their pain and suffering ended. The pain and suffering of the family members would increase if the person that is in pain would go through with the euthanasia.
Ethical egoists would probably analyze what is the best outcome for themselves would be. If it was them wanting to end their life, they would see it as the best thing to do. But in the same would apply if someone else wanted to end their life. As an ethical egoist, you would support them to take the action that has the best outcome for them and the one that ends their suffering. Because at the end, all that matters is their life, and if they feel like they've lived their life, then they can go ahead and do what's best for them. Although utilitarians believe that the family is going to suffer and they take that into consideration, as ethical egoists, we don't think that matters. It's only the person who is making the action, only their life matters. So, and whatever they want, that's what matters. So we don't take into consideration any of the family's suffering.